from the land of mystery, where dreams become reality, always listening to stories from the past, the present, and the future. This is Back to Your Story.
So, when I asked you to come on the podcast, I've just, I've known you now for probably a year, right? Maybe a year, 2 years, however long it's been. And every time that we have met, hung out, I've always had a great time. Last time when we went out to dinner with your pops, you took us all out to dinner. What was that place called again?
So Sunset Marquee,
yeah,
West Hollywood.
That was awesome, man. Alyssa and I had so much fun.
You should check out the history of the Sunset Marquee.
Uh-huh.
It's like a TV getting thrown out the window by the bass technician for, Radiohead or whatever. It's like that kind of place. There's always something happening there.
Yeah.
But it's a hotel, but it's also just like a weird hidden little...
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It was like this hidden gem. I had no idea. Like, when we pulled up in front of it, I was like, what the fuck?
Well, you go half a block up.
Yeah.
And then you're at, like, local showcase at the Whiskey.
Yeah.
And then you go down the street and you're like, I can have a nice dinner.
Absolutely. Nice dinner. And it's just, it's gorgeous. It was nice and relaxing. And everyone was so cool. And, when I was going through people that I was going to hit up to come on the podcast, I was like, wow. Let me hit up Willie. I didn't know if you were even going to respond to my message, right? No, seriously. I mean, we've hung out and all of that shit, but everyone's got their busy life. I got to tell you, I used to be the biggest person. You would text me, and oh my God, my text messages would start stacking up, and sometimes I look at it be like 200 messages missed.
And I completely agree with you because there's plenty of people that are like that for me.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, there's not this. You actually had a question, which isn't a vague, like, dude, we got to hang out sometime.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
Tell me what that means.
Yeah. I have no idea.
I don't even know what that means.
Absolutely.
And so, but when someone says something, like, and that's another thing about, like, getting older, when time becomes more precious. Back in the day, I was talking to all my friends about this the other day. It's amazing how much time we spent going to a 7-Eleven parking lot.
Yep.
And just having a good time just doing that. And living in Burbank now, I see, like, I get it must be like a cultural thing, but it's amazing how, like, Armenian guys just like their company so much.
Yeah.
They'll just hang out in a parking lot.
Fuck, man.
And they'll be cool. I'm like, I'm 26. I won't even do that with people I've known for 10 years.
Yes, I know. But back in the day, it was so different, right?
Back then, it just, that was all there was.
Yeah.
But time, you start realizing how finite time is.
It is.
But when people have something that they actually want to do or accomplish, you cannot turn a shy eye to that. It's not the right thing to do.
That's probably the best answer I've heard, because I've been racking in my brain, like, why have so many people been very cool, like, just kind enough to come on? Like, it's not...
Because you have your side already done.
Yeah,
that's the point.
Thank you.
Thank you. This room, this is why... You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
And whenever someone goes, oh, dude, we got to meet up for a drink. I went to a meeting actually at the Marquee the other day.
Yeah.
And the only reason I showed up is because these guys were so adamant. They had so much already. I had nothing to do with it. Yeah. They just wanted to show me what they had.
I love that.
And I could have been someone else and they'll swap me out with someone else, but they have their own thing going on.
Yeah.
That's what matters when you show up.
Absolutely. I really appreciate that, and that you saying that. And it's important. Anything that you do in your life, right? It's not about how many things you do. It's the quality of the things that you do. And whenever you take something on, whatever it is in your life, if you put your full heart into it, if you fucking just do it, the results will be completely different. So back to your story is really about an individual story, where they came from, who they are, and, where they're going. If you could just please, the people listening, kind of give a brief background of, who you are, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper.
Okay. So we talk about, like, everyone has their, like, cruxes and their tropes.
Yeah.
And I've had, like, 3 really common themes in my life. And all 3 of those things have been nepotism, it has been mental illness, and it has been self-awareness. And those things are the things that have always dominated anything I do. Those are the most dominant factors in anything that's happened to me. And they kind of interchange, where you go to a place where it's like, oh, I'm dealing with mental illness and I'm super self-aware, or I'm dealing with nepotism.
Yep.
And I'm dealing with mental illness, or I'm dealing with the nepotism mixed with the self-awareness. And it's all these, like, it always kind of like goes back and forth. And the journey I've had, as far as what I've done, I've never been confident, but at the same time, I can look at someone else and go, how the fuck are you doing that?
Yeah.
Every single time I see anyone do anything, I'm like, how the fuck did you get there? Why did you take a chance on doing that? And I hate to say it, but most times it's like, either that person is so reserved with the fact that they're painfully self-aware, they're like, fuck it, I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
Or it's because they're just too stupid and not aware. So they're like, this is normal, right? I'm doing this. So those are kind of like the main tropes in my life.
For sure.
And I had two lives.
I
lived a life with one parent, and then I lived another life with another parent. And I saw two sides of literally the opposite spectrums of parenting. And the first side was the typical crazy shit, who knows what's going to happen, kind of like, I have a lot of friends who grew up in, no, I'm not going to say cults, but really intense religious families.
I get it.
And you talk to them and you see where they end up. And you meet these people in LA, but they come from Mormon families, and they come from born again Christian and Christian Science and all these other...
All different walks of life. Absolutely.
And even though we weren't surrounded by it, I grew up in a born again Christian household.
What was that like, growing up in a religious household, right? Being who you are, did you always kind of see yourself following that path, or was it something different?
Well, it's so bizarre, because as much as I could believe, because I did believe that hell was a real place. I believed as much as like Burma was a real place.
Yes.
It was like, all you have to do is drill far enough and you're going to find hell.
And that was real. I get it.
That was completely real.
I don't get it, but I get it, as I respect.
It was there, though.
Yes.
It was a real place. And somehow, even having that like deep-seated feeling of wanting to do things that contradicted the biggest thing I was afraid of, it absolutely affected a lot of the choices I made.
Yeah.
But I always found a way. And I always found a way to find things that I liked, and things that went against that fear, things that went against my belief system. But gearing out of religion is a really tough thing to do, because after a while, you start asking yourself, all the things I've sacrificed to be good for this thing, you regret more than you're willing to move forward. And that's what ends up happening. You go, oh, okay, I didn't do that because I was afraid of that thing. And that was a really weird tipping point for me at like 14, 15.
So at 14, 15, so prior to 14, 15, hell was a real place to you. This was everything. This was it for you. Now, were you the typical type family that went to church every Sunday, or was it something that, was preached in your family?
I'm not going to give my mom a diagnosis, but I lived in a family. My dad and my mom split up when I was a kid. And when they split up, it was a really titular point for not just like divorce attorneys and things like that, but it was also like a weird point because of the whole O.J. Simpson thing. So the O.J. Simpson thing happens. He gets acquitted.
Okay.
You got half the world is angry, half the world is happy. At that point, something really dangerous happened in Hollywood. And this goes down to divorce lawyers in Ohio, to divorce lawyers in New York and Los Angeles. Is that what ends up happening right now, even with the accusation, and we're in the point where there's a lot of accusation.
So this is in 94, 97?
94, between 92 and 98.
Okay.
This is the span. And that's when this is happening. Because I'm born 93.
Okay.
Divorce starts happening 95, 96.
So you're just a young kid.
I'm 4 years old.
Now, why did the O.J. Simpson thing affect your family so much? For me, it was crazy to watch, but it didn't, it affected LA, but it's not, it didn't affect my day-to-day life.
So it's because, and you watch this happen with industry too. So when a lot of companies had issues with, like, we have OSHA now, we have unions, we have all these other things. When all this stuff happens and there's so many fingers to point because there are real bad guys out there, there's not enough time to look at every single individual thing. And there's a fear that you might go against it and you might be wrong. And so what I'm saying by that is like, when my mom and my dad got divorced, my mom is smart. My mom is crazy, but she's smart. And when my dad and my mom are getting divorced, what ends up happening right there is that she sees this case.
Okay.
And she attaches herself.
Wow.
And becomes almost this like embodiment of Nicole Simpson.
What?
Post-mortem.
Okay.
And
Sorry,
says
let me laugh.
all the things that you wish that you would have heard by that person. And it was, and no one looked at the kids. No one asked anybody what was actually happening or people around. And this divorce case comes. And my mom was actually represented by Gloria Allred.
Okay.
And she's like Dog the Bounty Hunter
Yeah.
of cops.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like this really...
Of course, yeah. She's if anyone listening, you just look her up. You'll know exactly who we're talking about.
it's a TV personality.
Yeah. Yeah. And she represented your mom because...
Just because it was controversial, not because...
But how did it affect you? Because that was O.J. Simpson, not...
Because at the time, all the people who were bitter about the divorce case between a celebrity and whoever it may be, the violence in another thing, a completely unrelated thing, was channeled to kind of like put that in a place and go, well, what if this was what it was like?
So for people that are listening, your father's Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
And so at that time, your parents were, getting, divorced.
They were going to get divorced like most other couples would.
But this is different.
But it's only bizarre in the sense that like my mom is just as wacky as she may be. My mom's a smart woman. I mean, I've had plenty of conversations with her. She's very self-aware. She's very smart, but it was a perfect timing thing. And this just happened. And we got to this place, and I was too young to figure out what was going on. And before I could even figure it out, it was too late. But what happens with all of us? We turn 13 or 14.
Yes.
We find Motorhead or whatever, and we want to go drink in the parking lot, and we want to figure ourselves out. You start asking yourself, well, is dad an asshole? Is mom an asshole?
All that shit.
Am I an asshole?
At 14, I mean, me growing up in a household with an alcoholic father, abusive father, and that's what I turn to, right? Because every single day I come home, it's the same bullshit, yelling, screaming, fighting.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I put my life and all my free time into smoking weed and getting drunk in the park. So a lot of kids around the world are going through that same thing. And at 14, you're no different. Although you have a father who is a celebrity, that does not make it any different. We are all human beings.
Well, it was almost like the same way, and it's the only way I can compare this, is that whenever my mom told me when I was sad that God loved me, he was there for me, Jesus heard my thoughts or whatever, that's no different to me than having this mysterious other person out there who did care about me.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't there. It wasn't in my face. And it wasn't by choice on that party or by my party. I was too young and he was court ordered. So I didn't have that opportunity. But I do think it's an interesting thing of when you get kids, and I always ask this question when we talk about like cults and we talk about things like that, and like you get told for so long something's real, somehow human beings always find reality.
Of course.
Unless you're completely and utterly deranged, you can be told your whole life that in the closet there's a gigantic squid who's going to eat you.
Yeah.
We all figure out, it's not our parents, man. We figure out Santa Claus isn't real on our own.
Of course. Yeah.
That's not because it's not usually the case.
Well, that's life, right? We're always told these things. And for the most part, as human beings, we're told this and then we figure it out. But, there are people out there that even if they're told that, wait a minute, this is bullshit, they still continue to, look beyond it.
And that's the denial.
Of course.
And because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
It's easier to believe that that's true. Yeah. And you know what? I wish I had it in me to feel more comfortable saying, like, you know what, Santa Claus is real. Yeah. I wish I had that.
Yeah.
It would make this place a lot more whimsical.
Of course,
and
I
easier
wish.
to deal
I mean,
with.
absolutely.
We all wish that.
The way we thought, as our brains and the things we were going through as children, right? If we still had that, life would be completely different, right? But this is real. This is reality. We get older, and shit happens.
It keeps happening. And it doesn't stop.
No, and not at all. But I want to kind of bring that back because you did say something. Your mother embodied Nicole Kidman. Was that because Gloria was her defense attorney?
Well, it's marketing.
In the case?
It's marketing.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening for me, it was the scariest thing to me because I believed it all up until a certain point. And if you gave me a couple more falls as a kid, or maybe like just didn't give me a book or something, maybe that would have been absolute and utter reality. But we talk about phases. If I didn't have the chance to go from 14 to 26, I would be angry. Because between that time, I was angry. And now that I'm here, I can look at something and, dude, we're in a new age. We're in an age of self-acceptance and mental illness and
information.
Trauma is real and information.
That's it.
And when you get to that, evil kind of starts fading away.
Of course, absolutely. Imagine if you were 14 years old going through all of this and you had the internet, right? Well, you'd be able to read a lot of shit, stuff about your father, your mother, this, that, and the other. But we do live in an age where there's a lot of information. How does one decipher between what is factual and what is bullshit? So for you, there had to have been a tipping point because you're 14 years old. You're starting to realize, wait a minute, everything I've been told is a lie.
Well, there's that, but I think the most interesting part about that was that I didn't know. Because I thought everyone doubts themselves. When you make a big decision where you're about to quit your job, you're going to move across the country, you're going to pursue a dream.
You're going to propose, whatever it is.
There's two sides in all of those things. And if you have any mind about you, you will see and experience both of those outcomes.
You have to.
So, and it's almost more rewarding when you get the good one.
Yeah.
But you have to be prepared for that. And whenever, I've died a million times. I always say that. I've experienced that death. I've experienced what it's like to see everyone that I know and love not be there with me. Yeah. I've experienced my dad dying, my mom dying, my brother dying, my best friend dying. I've lived through it. When I'm there and I'm alone, or I'm there and I'm with people, I think about it and I try and get there in that headspace as best as I can.
I get it.
In that moment, though, when you're making a really titular decision, it's it's so scary and foreign. You only have, in that situation for me, I only had two opportunities. It was everything I know is a lie, or everything I know is true, and I just fucked up really bad.
Okay.
And the way I left wasn't good. I didn't call and go, I'm gonna leave. I had a physical altercation. I had
with your mom, right?
Yeah. I had a really bad way of leaving that.
I get it. Sorry.
And well, I think it showed me that no matter where you are, you always have a choice. Yeah. Because even I can't tell this to a kid because I know that they won't believe me because I wouldn't have believed me.
Of course.
But you could walk up to a 13-year-old whose dad is a fucking alcoholic and beating the shit out of you, and your mom is a cokehead and she's a stripper and whatever horrible thing, and you're living in Oklahoma in some fucking trailer park. To walk up to someone who's just walking into the corner store and buying their parents beer, and their biggest crush is their cousin Lizzie. To walk up to them and go, everything's going to get better for you because you can make it better.
Yes.
It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
Because, and there is that opportunity, but that's just as much as I have the opportunity to maybe be the greatest YouTuber of all time. It doesn't mean I'm going to go fucking do it.
Of course. But there's possibilities, and at that age,
it's endless.
When you're young and you're told things, it's you're like, fuck that. I have to figure it out on my own.
It's
right?
breaking out of that.
Yeah.
And there's it's almost to the point where and I don't want to get too religious on this, but I'm surprised at how normalized born again Christianity is in with the youth aspect. Okay. Because I was there and I saw how it was and how it was treated. and it was so aggressive because it's California Catholicism. It's
for me, I'm Jewish, right? I grew up Jewish, but I was the Jewish, family on the block who celebrated Christmas bigger than anyone else, right? I'm not religious, culturally.
We were the
Jew,
same
right?
way, by the way.
The same way, but I don't know, there's kind of like this stigmatism for some of these religions because of their thought beliefs, about gays, this, that, and the other. Was this stuff that was pumped down your head? You were brainwashed with, some of the bullshit that these religions have to, offer and say?
Those bullshits that we talk about.
Because there's good in all of it, but there's also darkness.
Well, it's a moral. People need a moral compass.
Yeah.
And religion, I believe, is there for people who cannot self-aware themselves to a point of finding a moral compass.
People just need to eat mushrooms, man.
Gotta eat some mushrooms.
As long as you're 25 and older, right?
But
yeah.
I think when you instill something that is so based in an eternal damnation.
Yeah, fear.
It's fear.
Of course.
And fear is not love. And then when you get back to another side of that, which is old, I don't even know how to say this. It's like you can always find the source of why you can't wear purple on a Thursday because you're going to go to hell. The same way that you can look at the law in Michigan and be like, you can't drive with 13 Pumas in your back seat while you're playing a Kenny Chesney song and wearing a cowboy hat. It's because one guy fucked it up.
12 is fine, not 13.
But not 13. And there's all these like really specific laws we have, and they're always because one person fucked it up for someone
One
else.
person. That's how it is.
And then like churches, like born again Christianity for me, especially, I think it is a perfect timing though. It's between 1999 and 2007. It was the doomsday religion where every single person was either all in and they were ready to die because there was a tsunami coming. It was the end times. We lived in the end times.
That's crazy.
And there was drills and there was talking about the end of the world.
Did you go through any of this?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
It's all like really based in we won't be here that much longer because we are going to be swallowed by the sea. And when you think that way, like repercussions don't matter, but you have to be so good and knowing that it's about to end. It was a very strange thing.
So scary. It just has so scary. All of this is like built on fear, like you were saying. And so being a young kid, going through all of this, going through these drills, which is fucking nuts. I want to get to that tipping point, right? You had that fight. And then what happened? You walked away. You left your mom's. Dad is where? What the heck's going on?
So it wasn't particularly like a kosher transition because I wasn't supposed to be there. Yeah. And I know it's troublesome because this is like a law thing, but I went from a place that I was supposed to be that I shouldn't have been. And I went to a place I wasn't allowed to be that I should have been. And whether I had grown up in one or the other and I would have been a different person, I take happiness knowing that I had the experiences that I did because I am who I am today. And I'm happy with who I am today.
Respect, man. I get that.
And that's a good
For sure. No, absolutely.
But when I got to the next place, it's almost so important by contrast that I had the other side because I wouldn't have been able to appreciate what I had.
There we go.
And if you don't have that contrast, dude, then you never know how good it is.
I get that.
If you wake up and you're always okay, you don't know what bad means.
You don't.
You can't handle it.
No, especially even when the smallest bad thing happens to an individual. If you've never experienced it, it is fucking terrible.
An inconvenience can be life-shattering.
Yeah. It's so important to see both sides, right?
And you have to.
So you went from this doomsday, just
and I love my mother. I do.
Yeah,
I love my
respect.
mom, but I know what she's dealing with, and I understand the mindset and the fear and all that other things, but it's not who I am. And so when I left, I just knew that wasn't me. And I move and I show up and it was bizarre because I go from the ocean is going to eat us sometime soon.
Yeah.
When? We don't know, but it's soon. So we go from that into like a really accepting anything is a possibility. Whatever you do is good. And that's what I'm going to say the most that I love about my dad is that he has an ability to, because he came from a bad place and he saw that there was a bad thing that happened, and he grew up with people who didn't do shit. He grew up with people who literally did nothing with their lives. And he just went out there and he took a chance, and it showed me that that was possible.
Your dad, where did he grow up?
He grew up in Arkansas.
Okay.
And Arkansas is like a weird thing where like, I think it's like 9 out of 10 people work at a gas station or something. But there's like no one to give gas because everyone works at the gas station already. So they're already there. It's like a really weird thing. And so he leaves there. He comes to LA. He meets my mom. He has us. Everything goes bad. You know, it's life story. It's a breakup. But when I moved in, it was so different hearing from you have to do this in order to be okay to do what makes you happy.
That's huge.
And
huge.
The first thing I didn't know, though, was I didn't know what made me happy. So for a long time, I did nothing.
And you weren't happy?
But that was on me. Yeah. Well, it wasn't that I wasn't happy. It was just that, like, I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
If someone gave you the world right now and they said, and this is a question I've asked myself, if someone said you could have a perfect career and be the best in your class right now, pick it. What is it?
Podcasting.
See, and for a long time, I didn't know what that meant.
I get it.
And I didn't even know what, like, there's so many, like, anthology horror films and movies and genies and stuff like that that pop up. And it's like, you can have everything you want. And then you pick what you want. And you're like, there's always something wrong with it.
Of course.
And I didn't know what happiness even meant. Because I was just so happy to be able to make my own decisions. I didn't care what happened.
You were 14 or 15 at this point?
I was a couple weeks before my 14th birthday.
A couple weeks before your 14th birthday, going through all of this, leaving your mom's place, going to your dad's. And at this point, your dad was a well-known celebrity.
Yeah.
Was there a huge cultural change for you? I mean, especially, you know, religion to your dad, your mom, I mean, to your dad, it's definitely got to be a massive difference.
It was a huge difference because I would, you know, go down to the kitchen and horrible thing happens. I move in and I'm thankful, but I felt like I went to a shelter.
Okay.
I didn't feel quite comfortable, you know? Or it's like the towel feels a bit rough when you get out of the shower and you don't know, like,
yes,
should I put this here? Is this toothbrush? Is it okay for me to use this?
Yeah.
It was very like that. And he was very careful with me and very caring. So I get out, and it was like the second night I was there. And, you know, this is a big deal. And I called my mom and I said, I left in the middle of the night. I'm not coming back. I wish you the best. That's how I left it. I told my dad, hey, I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is the right thing to do. And you know it's the right thing to do. And I know it's the right thing to do. And whatever she brings up, I will go, I will talk, I will do anything. Because this is a court thing. And I was like, I'm willing to do this. And they came to some kind of agreement aside from me. But I felt uncomfortable. I felt like I was overstaying my welcome and all those other things.
It's so new.
And it came from such a caring place that my stepmom, who's amazing, Connie, her and my dad came up to my room and they said, you know, hey, we're happy you're here. Whatever you need, you let us know. We're going to go to sleep. Call us, come knock on the door, whatever you need. So I go and I'm like, and they were like, you should take a bath. So I go and I run the bath and I was so tired from everything that was going on. I went and I sat down and my dad gave me a Jimmy Cliff CD. Do you know who Jimmy Cliff is?
I don't.
Jimmy Cliff is a great reggae artist.
Okay.
And he gives me a Jimmy Cliff CD and he put it on and he goes, that's going to make you feel better. I start listening to Jimmy Cliff. I start sitting there, falling asleep. And I don't have any idea how long went by, but it must have been like 7-8 hours.
Wow.
And I woke up to just like absolute mayhem because I was on the second floor. The house was built in the 30s, so it's not
soundproof. Yeah.
And I had just left the bath running for 7 hours. And I flooded the kitchen and the gym and the side room and the living room.
Sorry,
everything was ruined. And within 48 hours of me moving in, I destroyed like $60,000 worth of property. And I was just like, that's it.
Yep, you're done.
I'm done.
Yeah.
And it wasn't that.
No, it wasn't.
It was accidents happen. And that was the first lesson in patience I learned. and all these amazing things that come from those stupid and things don't matter. We matter. Things don't matter.
Exactly.
And it was gorgeous, man. It was amazing.
That going through something like that, especially this very short transition, not really feeling welcome, now ruining all of this shit. But they didn't get upset.
No, they didn't get upset.
I mean, internally, for sure, they're like, this little fucker.
Sucks, but yeah.
It's your son.
Yeah.
I love you.
No, it was unconditional love in
That's
a sense
it.
that wasn't based out of fear.
Exactly.
And that was an important lesson for me.
And that's huge. And that's something that you hold to today, especially being able to kind of just share it word for word, visualizing it. I can see that the way that you're talking about it, that was a pivotal moment in your life.
Yeah.
This is where your life does start to change and your brain starts to open up to new ideas.
And I think the point of all of that is what I'm trying to get at is that whenever you do something, whenever someone else, we're going to put quotations on this, of fucks up, the way you treat them when they fuck up is how they're going to treat someone else when they fuck up. And when you keep that going, when you know how to handle that and you do it the right way, it's you do something that you don't even know happens later. Absolutely. And that's great.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
So good.
And it doesn't matter who you are, who this happens to. The way that we treat others can be a direct reflection to the way that they treat others.
Well,
right?
it's hard to do because you don't see a direct result.
No.
And people want whatever you put in. You always want to see something back. It's an investment. And
that's life.
An investment with no return. A good investment with no return is, who the fuck wants to do that?
Yeah.
If I can't get something out of it, why am I going to do something good about it? Like, and that's a hard thing, man.
It is, but I do believe it's built. It's inside the individual, right? Not everyone's built that way. A lot of people, when they give something, they want to get something in return.
Yeah.
Right. But there are people out there when they want to give something, there is no questions whatsoever, right? And those are the type of people that you should definitely surround yourself with because they're good, wholehearted individuals. So we're going to kind of bring it back, right? So you're 14, 15 years old. Now you're growing up in your dad's house, right? This is completely different. What was that like those first few years?
Well, that's what's so funny about it is that when you're so used to something and you get to something else, you still act like you were where you were before. You're not acting like it's changed. So it wasn't like, okay, and my mom, as whatever problem she's got, a lot of it was like, oh, we're going to watch a movie and then we're going to drive to a parking lot and we're going to talk to my friend who works at Subway. It wasn't like we were like doing anything crazy.
Of course.
It was very mundane.
Yeah.
As intense as it is, it was very mundane. When I go to my dad's house, if that's all I had known, maybe I would have been like going snowboarding and meeting crazy people and doing weird stuff. And that's not what happened. It was incredibly and utterly mundane because that's what I knew.
Yeah.
So it was in my room, thinking, doing things, watching things. I just watched movies. I listened to albums.
There we go.
Started playing music. It was very simple. It was what a 14-year-old kid would do.
Mm-hmm. You don't know any different. At that point, it doesn't matter, who your parents are, who your brothers, who they are. That's just what you know is what you know.
Yeah.
And so, but there is this point where, things are different. This household is different. There had to be a point where you definitely started to change.
Well, it was changed because I saw when I was afraid to try something and I was met with acceptance.
Yeah.
That's what pushed me to do more things because I went and I thought, you know what? I'm going to make some friends that maybe my parents wouldn't be proud of. And they were fun and we did stupid stuff. Yeah. And I pierced my ears in the bathroom of Starbucks and my hair was not longer than yours. And somehow I tried to hide my ears. And I came back to the house and I had both my shoulders up. And I was like, it was just bizarre what I was trying to do. And I was bringing more attention to myself.
Absolutely.
I could have just walked in and just been like, how's it going? Gone to sleep.
Of course.
Or like, hey, by the way, I got my ears pierced.
Yep.
But I had this fear instilled in me.
That's kids. I mean, but especially, 14 years prior.
It was a very strange thing. And I go up to my room and I fall asleep and I got my fucking hoodie on and I'm trying to hide it. And my dad knocked on my door and he walked in and he went, hey, come out here. And he hadn't had an earring in probably like 20 years and he shoved one through his ear and he went, I just want you to know it's okay. I've had my ears pierced too. And I was just like,
fuck yes.
What?
Yes.
And I was so afraid. For 2 days, I was chilled. I could barely think about anything else. I just thought, I'm going to get kicked out and I'm going to this. Nothing.
No.
And he wasn't babying me. He was
No.
just going like, what are you freaked out about?
Yeah, because he saw
Why
that.
are you afraid?
He saw that. Your shoulders up. I mean, come on. Where were you? You can see
he
it.
knew I cared that what they thought.
Of
but
course.
Like, when little things like that start happening over the years, it pushes you to not be afraid to try.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot, like as much as I might have someone across the country who goes, well, I'm so jealous of your job, or I'm so jealous of your life, or whatever. I'm terrified of every single thing I do. Every single time I try something, I don't think I'm going to be good enough at it. I think, well, someone else could do it because they'll be better at it. You know, you're always passing someone off like, can you fix this? Oh no, this guy knows more than me. And you always want to do that.
Of course.
And sometimes you have to be that person.
Yeah, you do.
Who is good at it.
Of course.
Tries.
But I can't speak for everyone. But as you're sharing this, I relate to you, man. I second guess everything. On the outside, people think I'm confident, outgoing, talkative, this, that, and the other. And on the inside, I am the shyest. I second guess everything. Most of the times, I just want to be in a fucking small room with not a lot of people. But there is something inside of me that is like, okay, well, if I fucking do this, well, this is the result that's going to happen. So then something eventually kind of pushes you to the front, because if you don't get yourself out of that shell, if you continue to kind of bring yourself in, you get into a dark hole, man. And, you know, mental illness is what you were talking about earlier. And I suffer from, I'm bipolar. I'm bipolar as fuck. You know, today was a rough day for me. I've just had a lot of shit on my mind. The podcast is about to launch and 10 million other things. And I wanted to lock myself in my room, and I did. I did for the first half of the day. And then, my wife, she gave me my space. And then, eventually she came in and we talked, and she kind of dragged my ass outside. And, slowly but surely I came out of that. But if you don't have that support system, you can fall down really, really quick.
And it's also about accepting that like the support system.
Yeah.
And not feeling like a burden.
Yeah.
Because if someone accepts you and they're willing to be there for you, that's a beautiful thing. You
is.
have to accept it.
I know, but it's hard, man, because I feel a lot of times like I am a burden, right? And I'm sure maybe you go through those same feelings, or you have in the past. So you yourself have, gone through some mental illness issues, suffered mental illness issues. I don't even know how to say it correctly without offending the person.
What it
Sorry.
is it's that it's experience with it. When you touch it, when you see it, it's not this like tangible thing.
Yeah.
So you can't hold it, you can't fix it, you can't get rid of it. And it's around you. And we're in a new era, man. And things are not just, you go back to 1642, someone can say the alphabet backwards, they're the devil.
Yeah.
You go 100 years past that, they're a professor.
Of
and
course.
It's like everything changes. And when we talk about like what affects us and how we feel and how you treat people, someone's not always doing what they're doing because they want to hurt you.
Absolutely.
They're doing it because they can't help it. And they're hurting themselves. Yeah. And you're collateral damage. When you accept that, you stop being so hurt by everyone around you. And it's very important. And
Say that one more time.
When you start accepting that other people, how they treat you isn't about how they're treating you. It's about how they're treating themselves. That is the biggest life lesson for me. Because there is no ethereal evil floating out there. There is no devil influencing the hand. It's people want to hurt themselves, and in turn they hurt you. And when you can get behind that and you can see that it's their own thing, you can either help them or you can set a boundary and you can walk away from it. Those are your options.
Boundaries. That's
boundaries.
Important. So important.
But
helping too. But yes,
but if you're willing to help, if
Yes.
your help is not making you in turn hurt, you should be there, man. If there's someone in your life who's hurting themselves and you're not going to hurt yourself by helping them, you should be there. Absolutely. That is what love is.
Yes, it is.
And unconditional love, this concept of unconditional love where you will stay in a relationship, you will stay at a job, you will do this because you feel bad, that's you hurting yourself. Because if someone doesn't care enough about how it's hurting you, it has nothing to do with you to begin with. It's about them.
Absolutely.
It's all about learning when to take a step back and see it for what it really is.
Absolutely. And for anyone listening out there, we all go through it, man. Some more, some less. And it is how we, look at these things. I mean, this is life. It is reality. There is no doubt about that. Some people, are like this. Some people are like that. Some people are like everything. There's so many different shades of individuals, but the acceptance part and the boundaries part, not everyone is going to accept it, right? And that's life, right? But if you do decide to accept it, right? If you do decide to go, okay, I'm going to help it, you still have to set those boundaries.
Absolutely.
I do know for me and the people that are very close to me, if they don't set those boundaries, it fucks with me even worse.
And it's really interesting what you said about like bipolar, for instance, because bipolar is when you say bi, like polarity in itself, and you're on opposite ends of a spectrum, and it can be two different people, because a mood kind of defines like what you are. If you're an angry person, you're an angry person. If you're a happy person, you're a happy person. We've met plenty of people who are a one lane kind of person.
Yes,
dude, I love hanging out with John because he's so happy all the time.
Yeah.
What would you say when I love hanging out with John because he's so happy sometimes and he's such a dick sometimes?
Yes.
You don't ever say that.
No, not at all.
And that contrast, man, it's so hard to be able to like love yourself in that. And if you have self-awareness and you know that you're in it, but you can't help it, it's terrifying.
It is.
It's awful. But you have people, you meet those people, you show what you are, and that's their job. When you show, what I'm going to say is that as an adult, the biggest thing I've learned is to confront everyone with what I am. Because I'm going to give you all of everything I am. That's your decision to accept it or not.
That's it right there.
And if you can't handle it, I'm not going to put anything on you.
That's fucking it right there. A lot of times I would think in my head, all right, Brock, maybe you're too open, about your life and just things like that and very straightforward. But now I have this philosophy. It's like, okay, this is who I am. If you don't appreciate, you don't like it, then that's fine. Get the fuck out. I do not care. I do not have enough time in the day to waste on people that, are very short-sighted and look at things one way. Thank you. You said a lot of great things, and there are things that I'm going to digest just internally. So, but let's kind of bring it back, right? Let's kind of bring that shit back. No, so you're now at this point, let's say 16, 17, 18 years old. What is it like? You're out of your shell. You feel very welcome in the house. How's your relationship with your father?
It's great. Everything's good. And the biggest thing was like me and my dad speak one really common language more than anyone I've ever met. It's an appreciation for subtlety and for art. And whenever we watch a movie, we can watch an hour and 45-minute movie that is fucking terrible, but there'll be like one line that's worth it.
Yes.
And then we'll like have a t-shirt for it.
There we go.
And it's like we always found ourselves in our sense of humor and in our sense of music and appreciation for character. And there's a guy named Captain Beefheart you should look up.
Okay.
And
Captain Beefheart. I love that.
Captain Beefheart, Warren Zevon. There's all these guys who are just like, they're these fucking characters. My dad's best friend's a guy named JP Shellnut. You can't understand a word he's saying.
It's
he's
a great
like
name, though.
Ridiculous. Yeah. JP Shellnut.
Shellnut.
This big old guy, and he's like laughing and he's drinking and stuff. And he owns like a health food restaurant. I've never seen anything but bread that he's eating.
Okay.
And it's like, great. All right. But you meet all these characters and this appreciation for these like really specific personalities, because that's the truth. We live in Los Angeles. There's like 4 million people here or whatever it may be. Finding 5 people who are this like mod squad of bizarro specific, that's what it's about, man. It's variables, and it's beautiful to find something and appreciate something that no one else can understand.
Yeah.
That's the best feeling in the world.
So you and your dad have that.
We share that in the sense of like I have my little squad of bizarro people, and he's got his, and we trade playing cards with that. I'll go, my buddy Carl that I work with, he's like 37 years old, but he looks like he's like 50, and he rubs his hands when he talks, and he's...
I do that too all the time.
He's just like a creepy little villain-looking guy, and like...
Well, not like that, but I find myself doing it, whatever. I gotta stop now.
See? You're self-conscious.
No, I'm just... I mean, I am, but not on that. I don't give a shit.
But like Carl, I'm obsessed with Carl. When I look at him, I can't think anything but like how fucking lucky I am. out of this many thousands of years of human consciousness, I got to meet Carl. And I got to keep Carl. And Carl is my thing.
Yes. Yeah.
And me and my dad
So
share
fun.
that. And we'll call each other. We'll tell each other about our characters.
Yeah.
And that was a great thing to have. And even when my friends were weirdos, or they were drunks or band dudes or whatever, I had my characters. He trusted, like, I picked my characters. And we always shared that together. And music started happening. And I got into bands. And I got into socializing. And I got into the idea of... And that's when social media picked up. And it was MySpace. And it was the scene. And it was all that other stuff. And you had to compete. And you had to be something. I took a bit of a backseat. It worked out for me. I did it. And I hung out with these people. And I was so apathetic. And I didn't care. But I was in it. And it still worked out somehow. But I think that's why it worked out, because I didn't want it to work out. I just wanted to be there. And the scene happened, and the hardcore scene happened, and the dancing, and the girls, and the bands, and the whole deal. And when it all kind of started dying out, I didn't know what the fuck I was going to do. And I love movies, and I've heard my entire life, oh, you should be an actor. And I can't remember 15 words. I can talk endlessly forward, and I cannot do anything backwards. Your job as an actor, on a technical ability, is to have... to be able to remember what you're supposed to say and give it feeling. I don't even know what I'm supposed to say. How the fuck am I supposed to give it feeling? Absolutely. And I can't do that. I love movies. Movies are my passion. When I watch a movie, every single time I ever felt bad as a kid, and this is why I love what I do, because it wasn't an escape. I don't think it was. I think it was an appreciation for creativity and a different world. When I didn't feel okay, when I was lonely, I could go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It's human creation. I go into movies. My stepmom knows someone who knew a guy who had a place. And I couldn't sleep, and I stayed up. I was 17 years old. I stayed up until 8 o'clock in the morning. And I showed up at a special effects studio, and I talked to a guy, and I got a job. Sweeping floors, $8 an hour. It was what it was.
It wasn't like a handout. It was like literally you had to put the fucking work in.
It's no difference. And the other thing, too, is like, I mean, you can see me on the camera, but then I'm just going to describe it. That's the funny thing about the concept of nepotism.
Yeah.
Is that I asked my dad even, and I said, and he'll say it to anybody. Hey, if I want to do this one thing, if I said I wanted to be an oil rigger, he'd go, I've never met anyone who does that, and they won't give a shit that I'm asking. Yeah. Because when you get into a craft, when you get into like a specific niche of like, this is our art form, man, it's a cutthroat thing.
Yeah.
I know a guy who, his dad owns an effects shop. One of the first. He can't get a job because he's a dick.
That's it. Right?
That's it.
That's it. It's not because his dad owns a effect shop. No, he's a dick.
He's a dick.
I mean, maybe the door would be open, a little bit wider than the next individual, but it's still your approach to things. So if you're a dick, you're a dick. There's nothing you can do about it.
It might not be in LA, but I do know a guy in LA, and his dad doesn't own an effect shop, and he's fun, and he's cool to hang out with, and he works all the time, and he's doing great right now. It's so specific. And so when I got into this world, I love movies. I couldn't help but love it. I've always loved movies.
What you've been surrounded by. It makes sense.
And even when I did good things for myself, I always had that doubt that the only reason it was happening was because
of your dad. Someone
helped me.
Right?
Someone thought that.
Do you feel that, growing up, that people have looked at you as just kind of your father's son? What I mean by that is like, people are like, oh, you should act now.
Well, I can sniff it out, because after you do something for so long, I don't know how many girlfriends have you had before your wife?
Before Alyssa, a few.
So something I've dealt with is that I've always had two types of friends. Two types of friends who were happy for me, and two types of friends who just wanted to fuck my girlfriend. And they were nice to me because they wanted to fuck my girlfriend.
That's great friends.
Really good
Fucking
friends.
Kill them.
But you can hear it.
Yeah.
People, you can hear intention, man.
Okay.
I believe that you can. I really do.
You can feel it.
You can tell when someone thinks you're an asshole.
Yeah.
And I've always had a good radar for that. And most of the time, like growing up, man, I would meet someone and I would really like them. And right towards the end of the night, one comment would sour it.
That's it. That's all it takes, though.
It's all it would take.
That's all it takes, because that individual, maybe they had a couple drinks, they finally opened up a little bit to who they are. And, you know, people look at celebrities' children as, you know, they're just given things, they're just handed things, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, maybe some are. Like, I don't fucking know, but you still have to put the work in.
And that's what I was going to end this with was, when you're given an opportunity, because I know so many people who either have, in every field, when you have an in, take it.
Absolutely.
Do not feel guilty about it, because I did that for a long time. I did it for a very long time. And whether you people go to an effects school to do effects makeup so they can meet a teacher who knows a guy that they used to work with back in LA. Yep. So that person can text that guy and get them the job. That's how it fucking works, man.
Absolutely.
It's just the way it is. And if you have any sense of yourself, you can sniff out the people who are only there because they want to be by proxy. And I'm guilty of it. I get excited still. I get excited about shit. Like, I met the fucking drummer from, like, Eyes Set to Kill or whatever.
Oh.
It doesn't fucking matter. One of my closest friends, and I'm going to send this to her, Electra Busey. Okay. I love you. You're a sweetheart. Amazing. Electra's dad is Gary Busey. Uh-huh. Gary was my neighbor growing up by happenstance with my mom. I don't meet her for years. I join the scene. I start hanging out in these screamo bands and shit. I meet Electra. Everyone starts telling me about her dad. I go, oh, it's crazy. I got this thing with my dad. And she goes, I've never met anyone who has that too. And we became super close because
you guys are able to connect on a level.
We had like a familiarity. But you know what she is? She's a better photographer than half the fucking people I've ever heard say I'm a photographer.
It has nothing to do with her father. No, nothing at all.
She is raw talent in what she does. And for some reason, that is the dominating thing that you'll hear. Yeah. Oh, dude. Oh, yeah. Oh, Electra. Oh, her dad. Her brother. It's like...
It sucks.
She's better than... What the fuck do you do?
Yeah.
You don't do fucking anything.
Yeah. That's going to be hard, though, as a kid, and as, a young adult going through this, right? I mean, because... That's what everyone thinks. And if you don't say it, then you're just lying to yourself, right? You're Billy Bob Thornton's son. That is something that you've had to weigh on your chest, your fucking back for a long time. And this is like when I, asked you to come on the podcast, it was like I really wanted to know how you felt, because what you're saying is exactly how I would feel. Well,
if I wanted to do this, I'm telling you right now, if I wanted to look at if I wanted to capitalize off the pinnacle of that success, I'm going to move back to Arkansas. Yeah. I'm going to buy a house for $13,000 or whatever the fuck it's worth.
Yes, yeah, probably.
And I'm going to open a barbecue shop.
Yeah.
And I'm going to exploit the living shit out of that.
Well, that's actually fucking really smart, right?
But no, that would be smart.
That would be very smart, right?
I'd hate myself.
Of course.
But when we talk about effects, my job is mainly, because I'm a lab technician. What I do for a career is technically working in a lab. If you cannot complete the task at hand, you cannot work there. That is it. That is a simple fact.
Your dad didn't give you that?
No, and there's plenty of people who... It's also, when we talk about celebrity too, like even with like Electra and me and... I mean, even to the extent of like Jack Osborne.
Yeah.
Jack Osborne became a volunteer sheriff.
It's amazing.
That's what Jack Osborne did.
Yeah. It's amazing.
And he loved it.
Yeah. And that's that.
And he's always loved it. And he still does it. And it's great. God damn it. What's his name?
I have a question to ask you, though. For anyone that's listening that went through the same things that you went through, and your parents are, of some stature, right? What would you say to them? They're young. Like, what would you say, if you could say anything to your younger self?
If I could say anything to my younger self, honestly, is that it is a good thing, because if your parents are your friends, if you love your parents, I love my dad. I'm so happy for him on his own to do what he did.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Fuck
it's
yeah.
more than most people could ask for any of their parents, you want your parents to be okay and you want them to be happy and do what they want to do. It's fucking amazing, man. But at the same time, be suspicious, man. It's okay to be suspicious. It's okay. It is absolutely okay. If you're a really attractive girl, you're a really attractive guy, you're a really successful barber, you own a car shop, you're the manager of Walgreens, whatever you're doing, there will always be, at some scale, someone who is looking at what you have and they're playing you. Just as much as there's people, but do not let that fuck with your head and assume every single person is out to get you. That's the most important thing I could have told myself. Because when I was younger, I looked at the few times I got burned, I applied it to everybody. And I was closed off. Oh. I judged everyone. I assumed everyone. Go with your gut, find your balance, look for the keys. That's the most important thing.
That's it right there, man. Respect. And thank you for saying that. And I'm done talking about that because there's a lot more shit to talk about. We're going to bring it back. Now, you are 17, 18, 19 years old. At that time, were you thinking even about, special effects, makeup by any means?
Well, I didn't know. And you'll hear this a lot with people who do special effects. One of the most common... you'll hear it from people who went to the school, who work with it now, people who did it 30 years ago. I never even knew it could be a job.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. And that was a big thing for me, is that I heard... So my stepmom, for a couple years, did hair work on animals that they would use as animatronics. And she would tell me, you love movies, you love horror movies, you love action movies, you love fantasy movies. Why don't you do special effects? I was like, well, I'm going to have to go to college. I'm going to have to do this. And I'm going to just flat out say this right now. I don't like the whole new thing of, well, Bill Gates didn't go to college thing. Because Bill Gates didn't go to college because there was no college course to do what Bill Gates wanted to do because no one had done it before him.
Correct.
I believe in school.
Yeah.
If you can make it work, beautiful. But the whole, I can't do school, I shouldn't do school because this Elon Musk dropped out of high school. Elon Musk is a savant.
Yeah.
Don't tell me that you should be not doing it because someone... Do you have an idea like him?
Of course.
You don't.
Of course. Absolutely.
So
I see both sides. I don't mean to cut you off. I see both sides of the coin, right? If you're going to school to become a doctor, a scientist, things like that, you got to go to fucking school.
You have to go to school.
And even the person that's going to school for business, right? You don't have to go to school, but there's something that happens while you're going to school, right? You've went through high school, and then all of a sudden you're at this point in your life where you got to make this decision. Well, the people that decide to go to college for those 2 to 4 years, what I believe is the biggest thing that they take out of it is the experience, because you are at that next phase in your life where you're an adult, but you can still fuck up.
Yeah.
Where if you start hitting the real world, so many things are different. Where you're in college, the people you surround yourself with, you're living on your own. All of these different things kind of incorporate the end result of who you are as an individual.
Well, it's also the concept of structure.
Yeah.
And I did not go to public school as a kid.
Okay.
My mom homeschooled me, and it was all about the earth was 3,000 years old.
Holy shit.
And dinosaurs were just iguanas, and the end. That was
Did you believe that?
Oh, yeah. Well, because I didn't know anything else.
I get it.
And that was it. That was the end of the line. The earth was 3,000 years old. That's it.
That is incredible.
Dinosaurs are not here. That is bullshit. It's this. Evolution doesn't exist. All these other things, right?
Did you get into fights with people about it, or was it just...
Well, later, I just read it, and I was like, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
That's all it was. But before that, it was like, that was it.
It's like Santa Claus, right?
It's Santa Claus.
Yeah.
You only know until.
Yeah.
And so, when you talk about education, though, education is only... and I used to ask my mom this question all the time. So what about the tribe on the fucking island who doesn't have the Bible because they don't have fucking leather printed back books? What the fuck happens to them? They just burn an eternity with the dog because he can't read?
Of course.
What the fuck happens? And that was it. And she'd go, well, no, it's a special exception. And I go, okay, well, I don't agree with that because it doesn't make any fucking sense. Education is important depending on what you want to be educated in. If it is a craft, I am a craftsman. I picked a thing I wanted to be good at. There's plenty of people who are better at than me. Trust me. If you want to talk to special effects people, there's a lot of other people you could talk to. But I picked something I wanted to be good at. And I'm in a subcategory of what most of those people want to be good at. I run silicone encapsulated appliances. That is what I'm good at. There's a million people out there who can do it. I've worked with people who are specific, who have done it so many times, they know what they like. And what I mean by that is like the guy I work with, Vincent Van Dyke,
Yeah, great
at
dude.
our studio. He's an amazing dude. And he's found a way to be effective. There's that scale of you want it fast, you want it good, and you want it cheap. Well, you can't get this, you can't get that, you can't get that. And that dude could make that work. That's the point. He can always find an alternative. He does
sees
not
past it.
submit
Yeah.
to, well, this is the process and this and that. We find different ways.
We have to.
And he's not stopping there. He keeps going, we keep going. And when we work with artists who show us things, it's amazing how this works. And technical ability, man, to be good at something, I'm not going to even say the best, but to even be close to being the best at something out of how many people are on this planet at one place in time
Yeah.
is a good feeling.
Fuck yeah, absolutely.
It's a
Just
really good feeling.
mastering your craft, knowing
Master your
that
craft.
you know it, right? I saw Alyssa, my wife, as she's kind of grown up in the makeup industry, and I remember when she first started, she was not super confident, and then like the confidence comes a little bit, and I'm never gonna say that she's the best in the world because I don't think there's one best. I think it's a scale, right? But there does come a point where you master your craft. You know, if this happens, this is what's gonna happen. If that happens, this is gonna happen. If something bad happens, this is how I'm gonna fix it, right?
It's second nature.
Exactly.
You know something so well.
Yeah.
And it's like knowing a person.
Yes.
Knowing if I'm going to say this, you're going to feel that way. If I do this, you're going to react that way. And it's like, it has this tangible personality.
It's fucking awesome.
It's cool.
So you said that you work with silicone encapsulated what?
It's
'Cause I don't know
silicone
what the heck that is.
encapsulated appliances.
Okay, so
And
what does that mean?
In the 80s, most of the 80s, we used foam latex for makeups. That was the deal. That's what we did. And when you watch movies like Fright Night and Total Recall and RoboCop and The Thing and all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's this old Rob Bottin was kind of like the man for that 80s heyday, and there was all these appliances and makeups, and they're foam latex. That's what we used. And if you go farther, we can go back to history from where makeup effects began forever and ever, and we could talk about the first guy who did this makeup and did that and did that. But that's a whole other story.
Yeah.
But when we talk about what inspired a lot of the guys I know, my age, I'm 26. A lot of the guys I know are between my age and 38. Most effects guys I know. Those guys look at the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s. They appreciate movies from the 60s and the 50s, but what inspired them to do special effects was from the 80s and from the 90s.
Something changed.
And it was amazing.
Yeah.
Because cameras changed, the way you had to do things changed, effects changed. Somehow, in there, we started gearing into, and it's not even movies that you'd think about. There's movies like, God, I think it's like Sahara or something like
Okay.
that. There's a lot of movies that came in like the early 2000s. Silicone makeup had happened long before that. And they'd tested it out and they'd done it and been in movies. But something shifted as the norm. And a lot of medical shows popped up. Things like Nip Tuck
Yep.
and Grey's Anatomy.
All of that shit.
And silicone popped up, and it's a medical grade thing, and we use it, and it looks real because it has the opacity of a human arm.
So
It's
yeah.
it's not super opaque. It looks like a human arm. It looks like a nose. It looks like a face. And we learned how to paint it. We learned how to make it, and that's my specialty. Is that I cast these pieces. You'll have a sculptor come in. They'll sculpt the cheek. The mold maker will mold the cheek. You give it to me. I figure out a color. I cast the cheek. I give it to the makeup artist, and it feels good because I am so attached to the actual makeup process. I am one of the closer steps
Yeah.
to the makeup artist.
definitely
where I
some-
give it to them. I ask them what they like. I ask the color that they like, and that's a really good.
You're the
feeling.
last part though to hit
As
there.
far as a shop goes,
Yeah.
most of the time, yeah. When you're in a special effects shop, it usually starts with the sculptor, and then it ends with me.
So-
But some between that, there's mold makers and there's fabricators and there's
That's so crazy.
so many other jobs.
We don't think about that when you see this stuff on TV.
Well, you'll see a guy wearing a nose for a BBC thing about some king no one ever gave a shit about, and you don't think that there's 19 people
That
who just had to make that one nose.
That's so fucking crazy, man. And but where that started from for you and your life, at what age was that?
So I moved out of my parents' house when I was 18.
Okay.
A couple weeks before I was 18, and I moved out with my like high school sweetheart girlfriend. And it was interesting because she had a craft work too, and she wanted to be a horse trainer, and I wanted to work in movies. And it was this really like, we're starting out, we're around 20, and we have things that we want to do. And I specifically moved to Studio City to be right next to an effect shop. And something about effect shops, if anyone doesn't know this, they're almost all in the Valley. They're Studio City, Burbank, Van Nuys,
California,
Chatsworth. They're all up there, and that's where Warner Brothers is, and you got Universal right there, and that's why. And they're all individual shops now. They used to be on site, but people just moved a couple blocks down the road, opened their own thing.
Yeah,
whatever.
Sure.
But I moved out when I'm around 18. It was fucking terrifying. My parents sold the house that I had grew up in, and that was heartbreaking and weird, and I had so many memories there from the past like 3 or 4 years. And I get an apartment, and I'm in Studio City, and it's scary.
Yeah, that first time living on your own, man.
First time living on your own, you're going to a shop, and I have so much respect for the first shop I ever worked at. It was not where I wanted to end my career or be with forever, but it was a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
And I had jobs in between that I would do. I worked at that barber shop.
Okay, yeah, the one that we talked about.
I worked at the proper barber shop.
Yep.
Vinny and Trent.
Shout out
To Vinny and Trent. And they were super supportive, and they were awesome to me. And I worked with them, and I worked for a drum company called TRX Cymbals. Okay. And I sold drum cymbals to drummers that played pop punk music.
I love it.
That's what I did.
And that was between you getting into the industry and just kind of filler jobs, if you will?
It was filler jobs, but when you love something, even for a moment, you think that's forever.
For sure.
And I was like, I'm going to be a barber.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in the music industry. I'm going to do this. And all at the same time, I'm still trying to be in a band here. And I thought that was the thing, because all my friends wanted to tour forever. And I was like, I don't want to leave LA County. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Can we just play in Van Nuys 10 times a year and call it quits? And they all wanted to be on the road and do this other shit. And it took me a long time to admit to myself, that's not what I wanted to do. But yeah, I'm working at the effect shop. It's crazy. It's interesting. It's strange. And then you start meeting the characters. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like, when it comes to craft work, man, you meet specific types of people. And I met all these amazing people. I met a guy named Jim Laprelle.
Okay.
And Jim Laprelle stuck with me. I met him 20 minutes in. I was like, I'm going to remember this dude for the rest of my life. I met a guy named Brian Sides. I was like, Brian Sides is going to stick with me for the rest of my life. And you learn so much from these people because they're such individuals. Yeah. And they pick such an individual craft. And dude, I love effects makeup. I do.
Yeah, I can tell even while you're talking about it, just seeing your facial reactions, those micro facial reactions that I've been trying to study a lot more. It's awesome though, to be able to do something that you love.
Yeah.
Right, because so many people in this world, unfortunately, punch in and punch out for shit that they really don't care about. It's just to make some money, right? And that's kind of the name of the game. But for me, and then the people that I try to surround myself with, is individuals that understand that life is truly a blink of an eye. We have this finite amount of time. We were talking about this earlier. Why waste your time doing things that you don't truly appreciate?
Well, and something I remind myself of all the time, you can be the main character in your story.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be the main character in the broad story.
Absolutely.
And so everyone gets obsessed with these small worlds. And I know this is so stupid, but let's just say Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's something that's bouncing back that much and forth, and you see this huge world and this vastness. Do you really need to be the main thing?
No.
You don't.
Of course not.
You can have your own arc.
Yeah.
And you can be in a bigger thing than you. And there's a huge selfishness that comes with this generation of we all have to be the main character. And you are the main character for you. Yeah. But for the broad spectrum of everything, what we're doing, man, we can create, influence, have a part in. It's okay to be a part of something that's bigger than you.
Of course, absolutely.
It's gorgeous. It's amazing.
You don't have to be the leader.
You don't.
And you don't have to be the number one person. That's what it's all about. It's like back to your story. Everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And right, if you can be, a supporting role, even in your story, that's fucking fantastic.
It's a great thing, and also most of the time your influence has more of an outcome for the ending than it is if you're the person who's in front, because that person has so much other things to worry about. And your craft, whatever you're doing, podcasting right now for you, you don't have to be number one in the world, winner of all time.
No.
Because that is a childish mindset. Yeah. It's about how effective it is, who you're trying to affect and how effective it is. And when it comes to film and effects makeup and all what we do, we make stuff because we like it. When we send it out the door, we're proud of it. Yeah. There's a lot of things that, and this is so specific, and if we were on a makeup effects podcast, we could talk about this for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
When you go on Instagram and you go to the Discover page, every single thing is a wax buildup. It's like, cuts with like fake teeth in them and shit. And so you don't do that on set. You don't do that in a movie. You do it and you take pictures of it, and a bunch of people go, "Oh, that's really gross." And then BuzzFeed picks it up and they go like, "Girl with one arm who lives in Vietnam makes special effects makeup out of household products." And then she'd show up on set and they'd go, "You want to glue this cheek down?" And she'd be like, I don't even know what you mean.
Like, fuck no.
I can turn this mango into a lump.
It's so true, though.
And that's what it is. But it's like, the singers who make videos on YouTube are like, "I'm going to sing like Chris Cornell and then Lizzie McGuire for 20 minutes. And everyone's like, what kind of band are you going to be in?
It's true. It's true.
The bizarre, it's juggling fish kind of shit.
Yeah. Because it's not reality.
It's not reality. It's like a fun, it's a Venice Beach. I'm spray painting myself silver. It's an attraction.
It is. It's also a facade because, social media is, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I don't know. A lot of people take it for face value, and people will be posting pictures. "Oh, I'm in this place. Oh, I'm in that place." You don't understand what took place before that, what took place after that, or any of the things, any of the variables that are required to kind of hit these key things to get people excited about. But as a whole, social media, I don't know. I've taken a huge step back from it because I got sucked into that life. I got sucked into, oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh, this is how it has to be. Oh, I got to, Snapchat my entire thing. Oh, I got to do this, right? But it then consumes you, right? Why?
It takes over because there's so many other, the FOMO thing, the feeling of missing out. Yeah. I mean, man, we are oversaturated. Yeah. Everyone will always, and I'm saying this, I'm putting this out there for when I listen to this later. I'm not even saying it to anybody.
I love that.
There is always going to be someone who's doing something, in your perception, more exciting, more successful, better looking than what you're doing.
100.
You'll always see that.
Yeah.
Because of what it is now. When I was younger, man, when we're talking about our parents, our generations from the 70s, the 80s, we're talking about people who only knew a band like, oh, dude, Thin Lizzy is the pinnacle of success for me because that's what I knew and that's what I'm introduced to. If you go on Instagram right now, you'll find an 18-year-old. I look at shit like this. I play video games. I love video games. I played Gears of War for years. I competed. I did all this other stuff.
That's awesome.
There's fucking 15-year-old kids who are playing Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, okay. So we're gonna have up next for the Pro AM. We're gonna have this guy. He's 15 years old. He's from London, and his partner is like Chance the Rapper. And they're playing for the Fortnite AM, and then you have Ninja, and you have these guys, and it's like, you compare yourself. Vincent, for instance, I'm 26, Vincent's 29. Yeah. If I want to look at that and go, what the fuck am I doing? No.
No. I mean, I can do the same thing because I'm 33, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Fuck am I doing?
But
you can't do that.
It's all relative.
You can't do it. It's so relative, and we're so competitive with people who are doing things that we're not doing, and you just got to look at what you're doing, man.
But it's so thrown in our face these days that how does this change? Like, because people get so caught up into this social media type world, and even the things that they say, the negativity that people will spew, it would be nothing that they would say in real life, but online you have this, this cloak around you where you just feel the need that you can talk shit and say these horrible things. Where does this even all go? Like,
it's about making, who do you want to impress? And when you ask yourself who you want to impress, do I want to impress? You're married. You have friends. You have roommates. You have the things around you that you care about.
Yeah.
I have a best friend. I have a mom. I have a dad. I have close people I work with. I have relationships that I have. If you can impress the things that are necessary to you that will make you happy, that's what you have to. At what end is what you want to impress? If you want to impress the world, you're fucked.
You're fucked.
Because then you're in a crapshoot. It's like, I want to impress the world because then there's amazing people who impress the world. Like the girl who, and they'll all have criticism, but like the girl who does the UN stuff with
Greta Thunberg.
Yes.
Thunberg, however you pronounce her last name. Yeah.
She impresses the world. She impresses me.
She's amazing. But the criticism that young girl faces on a day-to-day basis blows my mind, because she is truly amazing. She does stand up for what I think a lot of us would hope that they could even, say, right? But at such a young age.
The world is high school now, though.
It is. That is it.
The world has turned into high school.
So we've put it in her hands, though. We've put it in her hands, and she's like a 10-year-old girl.
But we've created that. And that's all that happened, is at the scale of everything. When you grow up in your small town, and you're in Wisconsin, and you go, and Tommy and his friends are assholes, and they're like,
yeah.
Becky's my girlfriend now. Oh, fuck. And you're like, God damn it, I didn't want this. Or, oh, you're on swim team.
It's exactly how it is,
or
right?
whatever. That
exactly.
bullshit, and it happens in the small town.
How
it's
dare
the thing.
you say
it's the
that.
bullying thing.
Yeah.
It's just expanded now. And we're so much more affected because it's you can go online, you can feel bad about yourself in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
How many times and this is something I ask myself, how many times does someone I actually know in my life make me feel bad? And the chances, not a lot.
Not a lot.
The things that can make me feel bad are outside of my actual realm of reality.
Exactly. But this younger generation, it's like kind of,
that is reality, right? That is reality.
And so we have, and what I was saying earlier is not to take away from what Greta is doing, because she's fucking amazing, right?
No, but
I do find it sad.
That criticism
at such a young age.
Unbelievable.
It's like, these major media companies are putting all of this on her. But to kind of bring it back, it's like, yeah, this younger generation, it's all they fucking know. And so we look at, especially here in the United States of America, there are a lot of mass shootings, and it's become normalized. How much does social media, in your opinion, have to play in all of this?
It's a beautiful thing that we have this much connection, but man, you gotta wake up every single day before you go do something. Just, am I doing what I want to do? And you don't look at other people, because I'm telling you right now, man, most of the reason, and this is a very vulnerable, insecure thought, most of the time I don't want to go out there and just be like, I'm going to do a makeup, is because I can go and I can look at 5, 10 of my friends who would help me do said makeup, and I go, well, they're better than me, and I won't fucking do it just because of that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't make any fucking difference. And I could, just as much as I could have gone and done it, and those people I was thinking about could have been like, he doesn't even do it that much, and that thing looks pretty good. Or, man, that thing looks like shit. It doesn't fucking matter.
It's all the reality that people think.
It's
not
what
just
you create. Yeah, it's what you're creating, and it's what's happening. And you cannot compare yourself age-wise, success-wise, money-wise. It doesn't exist. And it's gone, and it's here that fast.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm also talking about, like the whole thing when I bring up like nepotism. It's like everyone thinks that my job is not easy. I put on a face mask and I spray acetone and encapsulated plastic into a negative and a positive, and then I pour a slimy, gross material that gets all over fucking everything. Then I go eat a cookie in the front office, and I come back and I pop said thing and I put it on another form and I hand it off to a guy who's going to go and set with it. What the fuck am I getting out of that?
Yeah.
Besides the fact that I love doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
It's, you know what I mean?
I get it. I get it.
And that's if you have something you want to do, and you have an opportunity to do it, regardless of how you get there or what you might have to pull to get there, just do it.
Absolutely.
And if you suck at it, you suck at it. But if you're good at it, it'll show.
And most of us suck at everything when we start doing it.
And that's okay.
It is.
It's good.
It is 100. You have to learn. I mean, because no one is good overnight. Yes, there are a few outliers, right? But anything that you start in your life, you have to learn.
Well, exactly what you just said. Man, savants and people who are innately talented are the ones who scare us the most.
Of course.
We should appreciate them.
We should.
We should learn from them.
Appreciate that shit out of Elon Musk. We were talking about earlier. I mean, what this man is doing for the world, and it's just it blows my mind.
But to look at someone like that and be like, "Well, I'm 27, and when he was doing his thing, he was 25.
Yeah.
So I guess I'm just gonna go work at Express Auto Lube or whatever the fuck."
No, don't put yourself out. Be the best you that you can
Exactly.
be. Right.
You cannot compare.
No,
you should not compare.
So looking back, at 26 years of age, you're at this moment in your life where you're doing what makes you happy. You've gone through this road of ups and downs. But if you took this bird's eye view, you're definitely going up, man. What's the next 5 years looking like for you?
Next 5 years, I mean, there's the side of my brain that goes, the world is going to fall into the sea, and there's going to be a huge black scroll with a long hand that
you never know. You never
comes
know.
out. But you have to come to a point where you ask yourself, what makes you happy? And if making other people makes you happy, what is it that you have to do to make them happy? All I want to do for the next 5 years is be good at what I know I'm good at. Yeah. And you should do that, man. You have a gut feeling. When you're good at something, whether it's like, I'm good at being this person's friend. I'm good at managing this store. I'm good at being a dentist. I'm good at doing special effects makeup. I'm good at investing. I'm good. Just lean into it. And you don't know where it's going to end. And I just want to go with my gut more, and I want to shed the doubt of what I might be bad at. And just, if I feel like it's going good, I just want to really lean into it. And I want to be that person. Because we have our abilities, man. Whether it's nurture or nature or whatever, we have things that we're good at. We're either good at we're talking, or we're good at we're writing, or we're good at we're walking, or we're good at we're running. And you just have to hone in on that.
You need to.
Yeah.
You have to hone in on that, like I was saying earlier, it's like life is a blink of an eye. So if you can hone in on these feelings and push forward on that, regardless of all the shit that's going on in your life, you're going to end up a lot better than the people that just fucking ran away.
Yeah, don't run away. Because and it's self-worth, too.
It is.
Find your self-worth.
It is. And you also said the other thing, though, which is going with your gut feeling. For the longest time, I was like, oh, you got to go with your heart. Fuck that. Your heart has a lot of emotion. Go with your gut feeling, that fucking instinct inside of you. Follow that through. There's a huge difference between the two that I think people get mistaken.
Well, yeah, because your heart guides you in a lot of senses.
Yeah.
But it's also incredibly influenced. And when we're talking about, we're trying to be realistic here. We're not talking about the good old work hard, good things will happen. Also, we're accepting our mental issues now. We're going, okay, maybe if I just went and I talked to someone, some of the doubt I might have had about doing this one thing, I could have just talked it out.
Yeah.
We completely ignore that.
Absolutely.
And this whole old world, I moved here from fucking Belarusia and I opened up a trunk company with my brother in the 50s, and then I had my son in the 70s, and then he had his son in the 90s, and then he told his son you just have to work hard. What the fuck happens when the kid's schizophrenic?
Yeah.
You just tell him to work hard because someone 40 years ago opened a truck company? No.
It
doesn't make any fucking sense.
Times are changing, man.
Times are changing.
It's understanding, that everyone is created differently, and mental illness is a real thing, and understanding that, bringing it to the forefront, and as a society accepting it and being able to help these individuals grow, because we are not all built the same. We're not little tiny boxes. This is not the 50s. The world is vastly different.
Yeah, but individuality in an age of existentialism and oversaturation is impossible. Because every single time you tell yourself, I can't believe I feel this way, my little life matters so much, and then you think about how many fucking people live in just the area you're on. When you look at a picture, an aerial view of Los Angeles, I have this happen to me every single time. I'll be upset about something, and then I'll go to like Disneyland for the weekend with one of my friends, and I'll see how many people are walking around, and the first thought I have is, what the fuck am I doing?
Exactly.
Why do I care? I should just be eating meat in the woods. I should just be running around rabid, biting everyone who pisses me off.
It's so
because
true.
what the fuck matters?
Yeah.
But you can't do that.
No.
That's not how this. It's not about the scale of it. And big cities are a problem. I think. I think
sure.
that I think that there's a lot of. There's so much more importance. Why do we talk about like even like the best stories, dude? When we talk about Stephen King, David Lynch, we look at these like really controlled, small town stories. Because that is a world. When the world is too big to comprehend, how can you appreciate it?
It's so hard, and it's growing at a massive rate. And
It's
then
bizarre. It's scary. What matters if it's all that?
Yeah.
If everything is a blank and everything is a that, what the fuck matters? But as far as like career-wise and influence and drive, I just want to go to bed every night and know I did the best I could at what I'm good at.
That's it right there.
And that's
man.
it.
That's it right
And whether
there.
it's being a friend or it's being a massage therapist or it's being a special effects technician or it's working at the Vons that I just went down the street and picked this up from, that I just want to know that I did the best that I could at what I'm supposed to be doing, and to have this grandiose idea that you have to be the hero of the story. You are. You absolutely are. Because there are always going to be people who rely on you that you are the hero to. But you do not need to save the world. You do not need to be a crusader. And you don't need to be bigger and better than any other story you've ever heard. It's not real.
No.
We create these stories because we like to hear them. But man, we are not ever... You're not the Luke Skywalker and the Homer and the this. You're not that. No. It's just not realistic. And I'd rather know that I made a difference to 2 people who loved me than make no difference and negatively influence 1 million people.
That's it.
I want to matter to who matters to me, and I want to matter to who I matter to.
Dude, I'm going to end it like that because what you have shared during this past, I don't know, couple hours, however long it's been, is from the heart. It is truly from the heart. And I appreciate you coming on here, sharing bits and pieces of your story. And I look forward to the future. I look forward to checking back in with you and getting you back on here. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Of course. And and as far as all the work stuff goes and the past stuff, man, life can start out tough. You find your stride, and then you just perfect it. That's it. And that's my story, is that I don't know where it's going to end because it hasn't ended, and I'm very young. But it's important to go from where you started, have all of your insecurities, keep them because they're important. But find where you're comfortable and just work on that.
That's it.
Doesn't have to be the end. Doesn't have to be the future.
I love that. I love that. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening to Back to Your Story. Have a good night. Peace out, motherfuckers.